They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. You know, they're trying to get them on the voters' roll. We cannot let that happen. This is the worst response in the history of hurricanes. You have illegal, you have the migrants, you're reading about it. Now, a lot of the money that was supposed to go to Georgia and supposed to go to North Carolina and all of the others is going and has gone already. It's been gone for people that came into the country illegally. A terrible response from the White House. They're missing $1 billion that was used for another purpose, and nobody's seen anything like that. No, from that standpoint, it's been terrible. Death and destruction that we haven't seen maybe ever. It's a real bad one, and they have to get people there because they don't have people there. They don't have the people. Kamala wined and dined in San Francisco, and all of the people in North Carolina, no helicopters, no rescue. It's just what's happened there is very bad. They're offering them $750 to people whose homes have been washed away.
If you thought Donald Trump and his allies in conservative media would have a reasonable, evidence-based, level-headed approach to hurricane season, especially the one we're having now during an election year, then you'd sadly be mistaken, as these complete lies have been spreading like wildfire.
How is it possible that FEMA is out of money?
FEMA is not out of money, and this was made clear by the Inspector General report, saying that Mayorkas has access to nearly $8 billion of funding from the FEMA disaster relief funds accumulated since 2012. They have the money to take care of Florida, take care of North Carolina, take care of Georgia.
But is that money frozen for some reason?
This is where the Inspector General says no. Congress's staff says no, they have access to the funding.
You know you really messed up whenever a sitting Republican congressman checks your lies on your own network. FEMA funding used for disaster relief efforts like we're seeing now is appropriated by Congress, called the Disaster Relief Fund, and is accounted separately from the rest of FEMA's budget. And speaking of government funding, just take a look at all the names listed here in the parts of the country they're supposed to be serving. A ton of representatives from Florida, North and South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and other states most affected by hurricane season voted against a stopgap spending bill that fully funded the previously mentioned FEMA Disaster Relief Fund through the end of the fiscal year in October. If these Republicans get their way, FEMA would actually be out of money. But you'll never hear them admit that.
It would be illegal, essentially, for FEMA to use disaster response money for different purposes, and that what the former president could be talking about is essentially a congressionally mandated program that FEMA administers but did not come from any disaster relief money.
There is another program under Homeland Security, just like FEMA is, and it is called the Shelter and Services Program that provides funds and to support to non-citizens awaiting their court proceedings. But this is totally separate from FEMA. FEMA has said they have enough money for Hurricane Helene. He also has repeated the claim that red areas, that Trump areas, are not getting the same support that blue areas are. There is no evidence to support that claim.
People that have been impacted are afraid to apply for our assistance that then they can get a hotel room. They can get reimbursement for some of the costs or damages to their home.
North Carolina's own Republican Senator Tom Tillis says issues on the border are not affecting the flow of resources into western North Carolina.
FEMA has so many resources that are available to folks who desperately need them. You are entitled to these resources. People are entitled to these resources.
It's really that simple. Our tax dollars are being used to help our fellow Americans when they need it most, like they should be. Yet another string of conspiracies about a totally separate government program under the same department got twisted into what we're seeing now, putting hundreds of thousands of people's lives at risk just so Trump could try to get one over on Democrats.
We really have just got to stop this rhetoric, because what it's doing is it's putting fear in the people that we're not going to be there to help them. And I worry that they won't register for assistance with us and get access to the critical resources that they are eligible for. What I see on the ground actually is the majority of people, the local leaders, the sheriffs, that are also helping to fight back on this narrative, letting people know that FEMA has been there with them, the federal government has been there with them side by side during the response and now the recovery. And they're the trusted leaders in that community.
It can have a real cost for people on the ground who are already dealing with so much. And, you know, it's right up there with making sure that people have access to transportation, making sure they get their power back on, making sure communications come back. Another part of that is making sure you can get good, accurate, and useful information. A lot of it seems to be driven by politics, and that is actively harming and disrupting the process of getting back to normal for so many people whose lives were upended by this awful storm.
Here's what's really apparent. The two-party system and hyperpartisanship have really created an environment that incentivizes politicians to engage in misinformation and disinformation campaigns to help their re-election efforts. In this specific case, helping people recover from a hurricane isn't and shouldn't be a political topic. But of course, Trump and his campaign would rather risk the lives of their own supporters just so that he can posture as the only person willing to save those same people. And it shouldn't be viewed as a bad thing to fund the government and make sure that it actually functions properly, especially given how many people rely on it to survive. Because after all, we live in a capitalistic society. It really grinds my gears and bothers me how you have not just Trump, but so many people in politics who have no interest in uplifting and improving the lives of their supporters or just everyday people. They want to obstruct justice, and they want to get all the credit for something that they haven't even done. They won't even do. But they want to make you believe that they're in it for the right reason. Give me a break. All they want to do is sow division. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.